recording it is, if there's something that comes up during it or some bit of information, you'll all, as the people who registered, get a link to that information, so we're able to kind of share it with you. And it just means that we'll be able to, I suppose, pass that information along. Equally then, there's people who would have signed up today maybe that are at work or aren't available for an appointment, aren't available for other reasons. So yeah, we'll be able to share that out on our YouTube channel. So look, Caroline, you're very welcome. We'll hand over to you now, and I'll try and get Jerry Grant a link that works.
Great, no worries. Thanks so much, John. I'm just going to share my screen now and hope this works. Let's fingers crossed. Let me see. A second. Let's see. This movie's over a wee bit, so I can start the slideshow. 1 second. Where's me? It's gone off the screen, of course. 2 seconds. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to get the screen so I can at the same time. Okay. So thanks very much, John. I'm delighted to see everybody that's not down the queue for pennies, which is great. We're delighted that you can join us as part of our new community heritage project, and we're delighted. The museum is delighted to be partnered up with the Volunteer Centre. Thanks very much to John for putting the heads together, and we've come up with this project. It's not very different to what has been different projects over lockdown, but this one is called UnCover ReDiscover Your Locality. So it's basically what's around you, what's your local heritage. So we have a very big county, and we have lots to discover. So we want you to show us or tell us what you've uncovered or rediscovered about your locality, because as John said, when you're out for a walk out nosy, now it's great, you come across things that you've forgotten about or come across things that you've never seen before because you're normally in the car or life is too busy or life is normal and you don't have time to look around you. So we're looking forward to seeing what you're going to tell us. So what is heritage? And you know, we can go down the very academic route and we can talk about tangible and intangible heritage, but we're not going to do any of that. It's basically, you know, most people think of history and heritage as, you know, the national events, and you're probably watching the program last night about the famine and or places where, you know, things happened or other important people. But it's not. It means so many different things to different people, and there's not one definition you can put on heritage. And it's different things in the past we value and want to pass on to future generation. It's like coming up to Christmas now. I have my mummy's home handwritten cookery book that she wrote when she was in cookery classes in the late 1930s, and still using the recipes from then. So you can see it can be anything and everything. It's whatever it means to you. So we can have, you know, it can mean something like physical, you can see it. It can be like the historic buildings. It doesn't have to be historic buildings. It can just be very old buildings. Your streetscapes, your wee towns and villages and communities where you live, or down the bottom of the lane. It can be, of course, archaeological sites, which we've quite a number over the county. It can be graveyards. It can be modern graveyards or very old graveyards. It can be you know, anything and everything. It can be objects and places related to our industrial, maritime, and our transport history, because it's amazing what you come across. And people automatically assume our industries are not part of our heritage, and they're a really important part of it. And it can also be personal memories and your experiences, your local, very local community history that only, you know, the locals know about, your traditions. What do you do? What do you do at Christmas? What do you do at Halloween? What do you do at Easter? Do you go down the woods and boil eggs? Or, you know, your history of your, you know, what do you speak at home? Your dialects. It's like, you know, are you Tran, or, you know, or you have a big, you know, your cross, a big smut in your face, or there's a certain words in your house that you use. Because I have another half from Dublin, and he doesn't understand what I'm saying to him half the time when we're using different words, and he doesn't get it's a Donegal word. And he's usually given out about donkey and shade as well too, or orange, or oshta. So that's what he's usually given out. So we have the past and places. So it might be a physical place, a place you can go and visit, a place you can see. And I said, archaeology, we have a huge amount of archaeology around our county. And people automatically assume archaeology centuries ago. Archaeology, funny enough, can be classed up to kind of nearly yesterday. It's the way the protection goes. And of course, we have all our ancient monuments, and we have our, our monuments that you can see, like the lovely ones you see in all the advertising at the Green Valia, down around the Carndone Cross, or all the way across the county to the remains around Tory Island. And then, of course, you have your old graveyards. And old graveyards are fascinating. And usually I find wandering around them myself when I'm out and about, because you can learn so much about them. So the easiest way to find out about your archaeology around you is to recommend to go to a fantastic site by the National Monument Service, and it's called archaeology.ie. And you log into archaeology.ie, and there's loads of options. So you're going in to find out what sites in your local area. So you'll end up with a screen like this. It's called the Historic Environmental Viewer. It's free to log into. You just have to click the cookies, because they were hacked. Their site was hacked and destroyed years ago by the Chinese, because it's got a line called defensive sites. The Chinese thought it was military, so they had destroyed the site. They destroyed the website years ago on them. See, this is just an example of parts of Donegal, and every single red dot is an archaeological site. And you can zoom further in. And then the blue sites, then there's a number of maps on this site, which is fascinating. And you can overlay different maps. You can overlay 6-inch maps, ordnance survey maps, 25-inch maps, and also air photographs. And you'll spend hours on it. And you can have the blue dots as well, is the national architectural heritage. Architectural heritage, different from limekilns to stone walls to various things, are the blue dots. And then there's a new feature in the last year. It's called the wreck viewer. You can see what wrecks are off our coast if you're interested in our maritime history. And they're all extraordinarily interesting. So what you do, up on the left-hand corner, you can see enter address. And normally you enter address townland. But the easiest way sometimes is enter the nearest big town or village, and then you can zoom in or zoom out closer to that in case you don't know the exact townland name. So then, So then this, I just put in Balbafay. So then I'm scrolling around Balbafay, and you can see this, I clicked on a red dot, and this has come up as Liscully, and this is the type of information you can find. So it's standing stone, and it gives historical references, and it gives dates and times and location. So there's all variety of information to be found by clicking on the blue dots. But it's extraordinarily interesting because you don't know actually what's around you. And most people assume archaeological sites are all above ground. Even if archaeological sites are destroyed and it's only underneath the ground, they're still protected and they're still listed. So we're natural heritage, and we are so lucky to live in a county like ours that we have every type of landscape available to us. So the definition of national heritage is flora, fauna, wildlife habitats, geology, landscapes, seascapes, and inland waterways. As I said, we're so lucky we have such a diverse natural heritage. You can, whatever you want to go and see, you can see it in Donegal, and we're very, very lucky compared to other counties. It's the best county ever. So when you're out, you're walking the woods, which is great for the mind and everything, and keeps everybody happy, and great for the fresh air. And you never know what you could find. So ask, a lot of people don't look at trees. Trees are trees can be ginormous and people don't even notice them. What is the oldest tree in your locality? Is there unusual types of trees? Is there the beautiful, the Celtic cross that only appears in the autumn time? Is there features like that? Is there trees planted for a particular reason, for a particular person? It's like in the Diamond in Rafo, there's trees, the oldest trees there, they were planted in memory of those men who died in the First World War. So that's why they were planted in the Diamond in Rafo. So then this is an example of, they're called heritage trees. And really, basically, it's not a very complete list. You can find this, there's a thing called the Tree Council of Ireland, and you can find, a list on the heritage tree database, but we'd love you to add to them. And it gives you types, examples of trees to be found all around Donegal. And funny enough, geology, nobody felt the earthquake or the earth tremor last night. Because we're very lucky in Donegal. We have some most fascinating geology beneath our feet. You can go into ESI, which is Geological Survey of Ireland, and it brings up if you ever want anything you want to find about geology, which is fascinating, and this is a very basic map of the geology of Donegal, and you see the most dominant ones is granite and schist, which is some of the oldest rocks in Ireland. And most people don't realise that Instrahul was originally part of Greenland, who moved over. So Instrahul is some of the oldest rocks in Ireland. So we're very lucky for that. So then you can, and we're part of the geological, there's a big, we're joined up to Scotland, and that's why geological rift, so that's why we get earthquakes and earth tremors and things like that as well. So you can find, if you want to find out about geology, and there's another site called, you may notice years ago there's a very low flying plane flying over Donegal, and we were the first county to have it done. It's the geological survey, it was called TELUS, TELLUS, border survey, and they have the most detailed, extraordinary maps you can find about anything you want, from who's got gold on their land, to the chemical composition, to where groundwater is and things like that. It's hours of fascination, and you can overlay maps as well. So place names. So they're extraordinarily important aspect of our cultural heritage, and there's like some extraordinary place names in Donegal, and place names tell us about people, maybe the people maybe named after people who live there, maybe after events, maybe after geological or landscape features and things like that. And there's over 2,700 townlands in Donegal, and then they're the smallest kind of division of land in Ireland, but they're fascinating as well, because some people assume they lived in one the poor postman, looking for all the Gallaghers in one townland. They're all related to each other with the same first names. So it's extraordinary to know you need to know what townland you're in sometimes, or to say when you're sending your Christmas cards. So the easiest way to find out about your townland is a site called loganium.ie, and it's in English and Irish. And the loganium is, you go in, and it's fascinating. It actually gives you the origin of the place name as well, and it gives you the history back hundreds of years, and the variations of the name and how it ended up with the name it has at the minute. It's extraordinary. So then this is a site, this is a council project that's been run for, I think it must be about nearly 10 years. And this is hours of fun. This is for the dark winter nights when you're home. It's called Donegal Place Names. And it's capturing local place names. And Donegal was the first in the country to do this, and now other counties have followed suit. So it's a large map, you can see, and this is the island, this is Inch Island, and we're taking part in an international project called CINI Project. And every single one of those dots is, it's a local name or a field name. So you can see here the dot is called Cottage Field. So you can add in you can click on the map, and you can add in what the local names are of a place or a corner of a field, or the Wellbrae or Dollaro, or what people call it, that maybe not exactly the place name on the official maps, because these are the type of names that are dying out, or the names that only you in your locality know, that people wouldn't know outside it. So it's an extraordinary important piece of work, and it's very straightforward, very easy site to work with. So you can see, you can bring up, there's a web, it's not a very catchy, rolling off your tongue, unfortunately, website, but you can see, you can overlay old maps, and you can see people have put in, like there's the old school, or they've called it, two places in Carrygart, and there's Harry's Hole and the diving board, or place Rushing, which is lake or feature. So you can put in everything from field names, land features, road names, coastal features, river names, local names, building names. You can see, I saw you putting in, there was this place just further over, shoot a picture, it's called John Curran's house. You putting that in, John? There. So you can put in like the local names of the house, because the place out the back of Errigal called the Slashers. And so then traditional songs and stories. And the huge body of work was carried out by the Folklore Commission, and we had a number of famous collectors in Donegal, particularly Shanna Hoy, who travelled around the county and collecting traditional songs and stories from the older generation. And it was fascinating. It's absolutely extraordinary piece of work, and so valuable to find out what's in your locality. Because we don't expect you to, you know, this project is not, it's not an academic, it's not from, we want you to find out something. We don't expect you to have known anything about your locality, but we'd love to hear what you find out or what you discover and tell us. So this is what the Duchas website looks like. It's duchas.ie, and I've just put up Kilcara and a great, you know, or it's an great, whatever it is anyway. So you can see there, look, this is what it looks like, and you can type in, there's a whole lot of search features. You can type in by places, people, themes, resources, and it's an extraordinary piece of work. If you want to find out about the fairies, you want to find out about the famine, you want to find out about treasure, you want to find out about customs, marriage customs, anything, everything, this is a site for you. What was happening? And I was delighted too. I found my own mummy writing her story, which was collected from her father, my grandfather, and then she was talking about the land war which occurred 50 years ago, which is extraordinary, and talking about people being evicted and battering rams, and you know, trouble with the bailiffs and things like that. And then I discovered a fabulous, somebody wrote a song my great-grandfather wrote, and it wrote a wee note on where he is from originally and things like that. So it's extraordinary things you can find in it. It's a really valuable resource. So then the other folklore collection is, sorry, the other one is the schools one too. That's the same. The schools were collected between 1937 and 1939 from primary schools all over, and some of the handwriting is extraordinary, and they're both in English and Irish. And a fascinating thing is too is they want you to help transcribe, because you can see there's over 740,000 pages and not all of them transcribed. So that's another piece you can add. You can sit in the evening and transcribe what you see on the screen. So it's usually quite straightforward, because 1 second, they have you know, some of them, they're doing their best writing, so they were, and it tells you, you know, who they collected it from, and the area they collect. And there's beautiful drawings, there's maps, there's sketches, extraordinary pieces of work, there's copies of documents, anything and everything you want to find out. So then in the house, I don't know, it's like my house, but you usually have in the bottom of the drawer or back of the press, you know, you have old documents or photographs or letters and postcards. You have you know, not as much nowadays, but used to keep the local paper, you know, maybe some relative was in it, there might be some important event, local event featured in it. So this is all, these are archives, these are all telling your family history or your locality's history. And it's we want to see and want to find out. People maybe have, you know, maybe have a great picture I have of me when I was about 2 with Santa sitting on Santa's knee screaming my head off on the front page of the Diary People. And so we want to see and want to hear what's important to your family and what was collected. So then postcards, because postcards were the social media of the day. No mobile phones, no text messages, so people used to send lots and lots of postcards to each other. So there's a postcard from down around Buncanna, sent in the 1960s, and it's actually mentioned the great weather, because we had great weather at different times. And sorry, that shouldn't appear there, but that's what the handwriting looks like in the school's folklore collection, some of it, because I'd say they would get into trouble if they were not doing their best handwriting. And this is handwriting you don't see nowadays, unfortunately. It's not doesn't seem to be the main priority in school anymore, and a lot of children don't write as much as they should. So is there any objects at home? Tell the story of your family or locality, the weird and the wonderful. We want to find out about, you know, is there something being passed down, or is there something unusual in your house? You know, is there an old iron being used as a doorstop? You know, is there a cast iron pot out the back that's been painted black and the flowers are now sitting in it? Is there different things is there a wedding dress passed down through the family? We've had a wedding dress that recently donated to us. It was from the 1880s, and it was last worn in the 1960s, but it's been passed on to us by the family. So then, like, there's objects like, you know, passports, the Sears Startain Free State passport. There is, you know, everything that tells your family's story, or your local story as well, and story of immigration, and story of, you know, migration and going to work. So the history of sport. You never know what kind of sport was in your locality. And most people assume, you know, the GAA was very prominent, of course, but over in the West, there was more soccer teams and soccer leagues long before there was GAA teams. There's also there is down, you can see this is down in Clonca, that this is a headstone, but if you look down on the right hand side, you'll see a cammon, the slitter and the ball, whatever. So this is, you know, our ancient traditions of sport that was carried out. And then this is Master Roberts, the most famous horse we have from Donegal, from over East Donegal, and he won the Grand National in 1924. So there's fascinating stories about him and how he ended up going to the Grand National and chasing the train. Conan probably knows that story. And then this is a tug of war team from Donegal from 1897, and we have world champion tug of war teams. And the world championships was supposed to be held, I think, in Donegal this year, but of course, fortunately, COVID. And like we have had cricket teams for a century or more, and you know, like in Rathmullen, we have the first captain, Melton, the first captain of the All Blacks. We have another All Blacks connection to Letterkenny in the 1940s or 50s. We have, you know, world champion clay pigeon shooters. We've had anything and everything. So any kind of sport, there's anything, everything to find out. So our built heritage, and of course built heritage can include everything you can see from old bridges, and they've been mapped on Donegal Maps. There's a great mapping portal within the council. So your churches, your dance halls, you know, houses big and small, from big houses to the ordinary class 3, you know, thatched cottages, forges, your mills, from your flax mills, your corn mills, to your all the different big and small limekilns, big and small, mass rocks dotted all over the county. Your old schools, because the amount of schools there was in one locality is extraordinary years ago. Nowadays they're all amalgamated. Your flax dams, your drainage as well, and the different types of drainage. And your industrial buildings, from you have the Milford Bakery all the way to factories and much more. And an interesting site as well is to look at, it's called buildingsofireland.ie, and this is what they feature as well. It's like it's a regional one. It's a water pump. You pass these every day. You probably don't even notice them, but it's just interesting how they spell St. Johnson as well. So it's just the way information has been inputted, and it gives you the coordinates to find it, and you can correct information and you can add information into it as well. So then, what's in your area? What is historical and annual events? You know, when did the mission come? When was the fair? When was the fair day? This is the fair day in Carrigart. What day was a week was the fair day? When was it held? You know, once a month, twice a month. When was the half day closing? You know, what day of the week was the half day closing? When was that on? The you know, when was the annual mission? What was the annual, you know, the big dance on? When was the festival on? All this information, they may have been the annual agricultural show. What time of year was that on? You know, did any of your relatives take part? Did they win prizes? Or were they judges? Where was it held? Is there a show field, you know, in the locality that's no longer used? Anything and everything. We want to find out what is in your locality. So then you have, there's a big grand concert that was held in 1896, you know, a Christmas concert, and it was a fundraising concert as well. Like, did you have famous concerts? Did you have Dana coming when she's at the height of her fame? Did you have hundreds and hundreds of people go down to see Dana when she's singing? Did you have, you know, famous people? They give here stories down in was the Bundor, and all the famous kind of singers and musicians would come. Did you go and see them? So then, like, did you go? This is going to the this is even to go to the 12th July parade in Rosnella, the annual parade. Sorry, this is not the 12th July. Sorry, it's the 15th of August. Going to the AOH. Actually, wait a minute, I'm wrong. Sorry, it's the Orange Order parade. So that's a tradition that's been carried on in Donegal. So then, does your local heritage inspire you? You know, have you written poetry inspired by the local landscape or local events? Have you painted a particular site or a monument or place? This is a famous enough painting now, it's by Sir Doherty, and it's to do with Flight of the Earls, and you can see all the names of those who were on board the ship when it was leaving Rathmullen. So it's only to give you a flavour of what's available. We could be here for the whole day talking about various sources, and most of these sources are all free. You know, don't have to pay for them. You can go. The libraries are due to reopen. There's local study sections within the libraries. You can get you can order books from all over Ireland. You can download ebooks. But we maybe would like you to ask people, or maybe to share your own family heritage and stories, or on your doorstep. So then we want to hear, particularly want to hear there's the word for random wonderfulness, the weird and the wonderful. You know, who was a champion knitter in your area? There was a lady from Kilcar who was world champion knitter in 1922. She went to America and she won the prize. What locality had the biggest potato grown? There was potatoes grown in the 1920s. One of them, I think, ended up about 2 kilos for one potato. There's like a field out near Ards Forest Park, which had the heaviest load of potatoes ever in Europe, record for a year. So we want to hear your stories, and we want to hear things that may not, as I said, they don't have to be. They're not national events, they're not major historical events, but they're your heritage and they're your locality. So then, how do you share it? How do you show us, and how do you tell us? So we're on Facebook under Donegal County Museum, and we're on Twitter at Donegal County Museum, and the Donegal Volunteer Centre, of course, on Facebook as well, and at Donegal Volunteer DL we would like you to use hashtags UnCover DL or ReDiscover DL. But if you don't have social media, and if you don't want to share like this, you could write them down. You could make a presentation. You know, you only expect a few lines. We don't expect essays or thesis. But you can donate. We'd like you to donate your stories, documents, or give us copies to donate. We don't expect to take the original. So we want to form an UnCover ReDiscover Donegal collection. And we're actively seeking at the moment, hopefully the next time we might have good news for you, that we're looking to maybe to do an exhibition or publication during next year's Heritage Week, which is, I think, begins on 14th of August next year. So hopefully any of your work will feature as part of this. So we'd be delighted to see what you find. So I'm contactable here in the museum, and we're on the High Road, and we're based here in this building, but we cover the whole county. We've a county-wide service, and as it was usually me, and we're here to answer any queries. And if you want to email us with any queries or anything we can help you with, or any direction you need to help us with, or anything you want to ask us, we'd be delighted to help you. So that's me, John. That's, what do you call it? That's me done. 1 second. Let's see. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. So that's me now. And if you have any questions or queries, or do you want us to ask anything, or do you want, have you any ideas or thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. But there's no pressure if you don't want to take part in it, or if you don't want to share anything you have, but it's just something we'd like you to do, maybe to, in these strange times. And as John said, we're probably facing into lockdown again after Christmas. So January is the worst month usually, isn't it? I know the days are starting to get longer, but it takes a wee while to get back into lovely spring.
It is. I always like, thank you, Caroline. There's a description in Gador of, it probably goes elsewhere as well, of January is me and the Pocky Follow, which is the month of the empty pockets. And I think that very much captures January for us all. It's a long time waiting for wages to come in, and all the bills of Christmas seem to arrive very early in January. So it is. Caroline, thank you very much for that. I suppose, to be honest, I didn't realize there was such a wealth of information out there, and such an amount of websites and free resources that, you know, we all are sitting in the evening on our phones or on our iPads or on our laptops or whatever, and places that you can just discover what's around you. I think it's really interesting, and I suppose the call that we would have for people with it is, you know, if you do go out and discover something, or if there's something that sparks your interest or something that you see within your area, that you let us know, that it moves beyond, I suppose, being that family history or that local history into the county archives, or into that kind of county story that we have. So no, it would really, really be interesting, I suppose, to see what people discover. Everybody is currently muted, but I would like you to unmute yourselves, and, you know, if you have any comments or anything in particular, or any interesting stories, or, you know, the weird and wonderful stuff is always particularly interesting. Yeah, look, we'll throw it open to the crowd, just to unmute yourselves, switch on your camera if you want. It's up to yourselves. There's 18 of us here, so there's no need for moderation or anything like that. Yeah, come in if you have a comment or a thought. Please share. Okay, so, oh, it is, if you roll in a room, we wouldn't shut you up, you know. But it's the strangeness of technology. Sorry, Val, did you have any thoughts there?
I did, yes. Thank you very much, Caroline. It was very interesting. And I represent Mockania Historical Society in Bundoran. And I suppose people don't associate Bundoran with history, but we're steeped in it. But what I wanted to talk to you about, a lot of the stuff you mentioned, we have a lot of that, because we have a little small community museum.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, pardon?
We do know. We know of your museum. Don't worry.
Yeah, all right. And so we have quite a lot of the stuff you're looking for. You know, but we could maybe let you have some of it, but with copies and stuff, you know, because we've managed to save quite a lot of stuff locally as a result of opening it. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, the stuff goes into the skip. But when people don't understand the value of it. And I'd be interested in stuff that's gone all together. Like, for instance, I don't know whether you can have, when I was growing up, I didn't live here, but as a child coming here, but there's standing stone quite close to me that cattle used to scratch themselves off. There's quite a large development there now, and no standing stone. It's in Lucy's archaeological, is it Lucy or Lacey? I can never remember. Lucy of Donegal. But how does one go about trying to locate something like that that's gone?
Well, is it listed still on the? It's still on the archaeological survey
that you mentioned, yes, which is very useful, Caroline. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and then how old is the development?
Oh God, I suppose it's 25 years.
And Val, I probably have to talk to you more and to get an idea of where it is on the map and things. It's very difficult to do.
Well, that was a very useful link, and thank you, Caroline. I can go in and look at the map.
More about that, because I don't have a map in front of me, so I can't see exactly what I'm looking at, you know, so I can't explain to you where it is or why it's not there.
Yes, I know. All right.
No, we'll talk more. No worries.
That's grand. Thank you.
Colin got his hand up there, I think, has he?
Caroline, thanks very much for that. Very informative. Caroline, just in relation to the council archives in Lufford,
yes.
They have a huge collection there. I recently, sorry, I apologise, I didn't think of myself. I donated a photograph, I sent a high-res photograph from Termon National School.
Oh, very good.
1914, and but is there much cooperation between yourselves and them? Because unfortunately, they don't have the space to. A lot of their stuff is basically locked away, and you have to make an appointment.
Well, you know, Colin, we're part of the Culture Division in Donegal County Council, and we're the only one council, probably local authority in Ireland, that operate the way we do. So, as you said, we're the County Museum, the County Archives, all the libraries, public art, county arts, the Regional Culture Centre, and the Heritage Office. We all are one service. We all work together, and we very closely operate. And we do lots of joint projects, and we meet very closely, and we work very closely together. You're saying about, yes, the archives, yeah. The archives is based in the Three Rivers Centre, and you've seen the size of that office. So we all have stores off site, and it is a huge collection. And the reason why that you have to make an appointment is, one, for COVID, but two is Niamh Brennan, who's the county archivist. She's one person operation, unfortunately. So you have to make an appointment, and also you have to make an appointment because possibly what you're looking for is not to hand. It has to be retrieved or has to be taken out of storage. where it is, but it is a county collection. But yeah, that's unfortunately the way it is. It's not a walk-in service because it is an archive, and there's unfortunately use on our own.
No, that's grand. That's not a criticism of the service. I was just wanting to know that you know what they have and so on. But that's good to know.
We do, and we'll be delighted. We're launching within our own service, called Service Within the Library. We've written a new publication called My Donegal Family, and hopefully we'll be launching to the public very soon. It's a free publication and all the genealogical resources available within our own services and further afield, all free service. So we're hoping to launch that publicly very soon. And then myself and Judith in the museum have written a new publication. It's called From Connection to Division, from Conflict to Division. You should know this stage. It's on history of Donegal between 1919 and 1925. So it covers all from the War of Independence, Civil War, partition. That's a new free publication, bilingual, of course, and that'll be hopefully launched. It might be this side of Christmas, but as soon as, so it'll be freely available online and as a limited number of hard copies as well. So these are new publications that are in the offing, but it's just with COVID, it makes everything more difficult to figure out launches and getting people in the same place, same time to launch things. So they're brand new publications due out.
That's good.
Very interesting. Sorry, Geraldine Gallagher, were you looking to come in there with the comments?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, if something is already down in a sort of local history, local book like or Anduhas, if it's already on the book or in a local history book. What do you do there? Like, that's not relevant. It's something new.
No, it doesn't necessarily have something new. It's because just because a version of it is in Dukas, you'll notice if you go through, say the school has submitted the classes, if you go through and you pick say a topic, we'll say customs in the local area, and you find out there may be like 6 different children writing 6 different versions of the same thing. So there's not always one definitive story. There's always more to be found out, or more to be corrected, or more to be added. So it doesn't matter if it's in Dukas. And as I said, there's over 700,000 pages in Dukas, and we haven't got around to reading every single one from Donegal just yet. So it doesn't matter if it's on a national site and things like that. Maybe you can.
And when you say 5 kilometres. There's history where I grew up, which is about 15 miles away.
Well, that's why we said like it's in your locality, but your locality could be when you grew up, or your locality, your family home place. Like that's your locality as well. We know, as long as it's relevant to to you and to Donegal. That's the main thing. We're not going to start looking for other counties' history at the moment. We have enough to be doing.
No, it's within Donegal, yeah.
Yeah, very much so, Geraldine. I suppose the 5 kilometres thing came out of the lockdown and people out walking and stuff like that. But yeah, we're interested in stories from across Donegal. So, anything that is out there that you think, we'd be delighted. I'm sure Caroline would be delighted as well to see what stories you have. And maybe it's a different perspective on something, or maybe there's something there where there was a picture taken of it 20 years ago, but it's being cleared, or there's a path up to it, or, it may be more accessible. So it's just to have all of that sort of information gathered and collated. And I think with mobile phones and everything, now that we're out for a walk in the evening, rather than just taking selfies of ourselves, we could take a picture of that location or that place or the access to it and share it out. And I think it's just about building that knowledge right across the county.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I suppose I had a question, Caroline. I don't know if anybody else wants to come in there or not. Just if you do, just unmute and jump in. And I see Sheila there has her grandson Eddie on show.
I have a question.
On you go.
Sorry. we had a situation that only our granny can deal with. Granda wouldn't deal with that situation. I want to know two things. First, there's a fairy tree local here to me. I took a photograph of it in preparation for this, Caroline took and shared myself. How do I find out more about the fairy tree? And the second question I have is, my mum has a wealth of knowledge of Raphoe, the market town of Raphoe, and surrounding areas in the 1940s. She lived and worked in Raphoe in the 1940s and has a wealth of knowledge of Port Nabla and Marble Hill at the same era. How can we go about starting recording that?
Well, your first question is the fairy tree. So
Yeah.
there's fairy trees all over the county. So I would suggest you, remember I said about the site ducas.ie. So go in there and look for the local schools. It's divided up into schools. So try and find there, and it could be mentioned in there. The other way then, is it in a particular townland? Is it in what townland?
It's near Mungavlin. It's near Mungavlin Castle.
Right, okay. So there might be, if you look up, you might have to look up relation to the topic of the castle. So it may be mentioned there. But sometimes you might not be able to find anything, but it might be having to ask much older people in the locality as well to see if they have any recollection or any stories or any tales and about it. And then about your mammy, what I love doing is we have a whole variety of visitors into the museum at times, and we have people coming in, they'd be telling me stories and things, and what I go do is I go and hand them a notebook. Is your mummy able to write? Is your mummy able to write?
She can talk.
But can she write?
No, she wouldn't be. Well, not now. Like, someone would have to either write it for her, as she writes it down, or she calls it. We'd have to write the notes, or else just record it. Because
you might be surprised if you hand them a notebook and pencil, because sometimes they start writing on you, and we've had cases where people have come back full of notebooks first of all the things. But the other way is now you have your mobile phone, and your mobile phone is probably the easiest way, and it's probably getting her sitting with a cup of tea, sitting good and comfortable, TV off, radio off, and just starting the chat, and or maybe have a list of things you want to ask her, certain times, and maybe kind of keep to those certain things.
Where would those notes then go to? Would I send them on to yourself just from there?
What you can do is we'll copy them and give them back to you, that you can keep the original. We'll copy the thing. It'll be fantastic and fabulous. But it's all the tales and all the stories and the recollection and the names of We'd love to hear. That's what we really want to hear.
No, that's very interesting. I know that my own grandmother, a few years after she had passed away, somebody actually sent us a link that she had done an interview with a local history group, and it was recorded, and it was just lovely to hear that story and stuff that we had no idea of, and things that we didn't know. So no, it's really interesting to have that, and particularly for a family archive, but for future generations, I suppose the museum would hold that and would hold the details of who had it. So, Eddie's grandchildren at some point would be able to log in and actually access that, and have that information, so that when you lose your mobile phone, Sheila, it isn't just gone.
I do regularly, John.
It isn't just gone from that perspective. Is there anybody else to come in with a question?
Caroline,
Jonathan. Yeah.
Jonathan Kelly here in Stranraer. Caroline, you said that you would be willing to copy the information. Can you just walk in? I have a lot of information here about Stranraer, but I have war letters, I have documents pertaining to the railway, I have school photographs from back as far as 1910. Can you just walk in and you would make copies of them?
You can walk in, John, but unfortunately, you better off ringing me beforehand, because as I said, we cover the whole county and there's no guarantee that I'm always in this building.
Perfect.
So ring away and we'll come in, and I might not be able to copy them right that minute when you're there, because I have to see what they look like, and they might need scanning, or they might need different ways. But we'll work it out, don't worry, and we're well used to doing that. So we'll be delighted to see anything like it.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you so much, John.
That's fantastic. Cronin?
Thanks, John. I just had a quick question, just in relation to your own family experience. About 10 years ago, we discovered we had relations and ancestors who emigrated to America, and we can touch the American cousins, and much to your delight, they had kept all the letters that had been sent out from Donegal from about 1890 up to 1940. There's a real treasure trove of stuff. Now, it's also been copied, and it's they've a copy in the archives in Lufford as well. But just in relation to that, maybe, John, you know, this was a great idea what you're doing. Maybe we could try, or you could try and reach out to the diaspora as well, because there are people, I think, like living in London, and especially, you know, elderly people, and they're living in isolation and stuff, and it'd be good to maybe, just a suggestion, you could reach out to them as well and contact maybe through the diaspora project or something to see what, I don't know. But it's just an idea, so maybe for future, you know.
Great, Colin, that's a good idea. That's great. Yeah, no, we'd love to, yeah. And there's different, we've been in contact with different Irish centres in London, Birmingham, and different ones that we've sent them over information and booklets, and they've been absolutely delighted for all their diaspora communities.
No, that's a really interesting idea. And funny, similarly, we had people who went to Australia that were never heard of again, and then, you know, 100 years later somebody shows up and says, I'm your cousin from Australia. And it's great to see what happened to that person, and they had charted it through. You might have noticed me and Eamon leaving a little bit. We have a toy collection going on today for the Direct Provision Centre, so we're kind of chopping and changing in and out with people coming in with donations. No, that's really interesting. Anybody else want to come in with a question or a comment as we're running through? Grant, I suppose I have a question for you, Caroline. It's very local. I was watching that famine program last night, and was chatting just chatting in the house, and I pointed out there was what I believe to be a famine graveyard very close to our house, and I googled it like you do, and I couldn't find it. It's near, you know, Tullahabegley graveyard.
Yeah, that's the killing up in the hill, is it, John?
Aye. Is that a famine graveyard or what is that?
That's an unbaptized children that's killing. Like it's on maps and it is known. Like
no, I thought that was at the bottom of the hill. Sorry, this is very local now. The one at the highest point where there's kind of a flat on top of the hill.
That's the killing. Yeah, that's
okay.
It's known about. Yeah, and that. Okay. And then see, on that program yesterday too as well. I was just laughing that the photographs. There's a lot of Donegal photographs, funny enough, in that thing, but they're all, I was surprised at one of the professors saying it was dated from 1870s. She did a wee quick Google, she'd find out it was actually, we've a date for 1888. So when you're watching that famine program, you have to realise those photographs are much later. They're from the late 1870s to the, you know, up to the 1900s. That's what they are showing. But you're saying about famine graveyard. Funny enough, we're based here in the workhouse in Kenny. So just beside us here, maybe when you're in Letterkenny passing us, you notice a sign that says Open Famine Graveyard. It actually isn't. The sign was put up by the Legion of Mary without any discussion. And it is actually the old workhouse graveyard. But the old workhouse graveyard actually didn't come into being until we have it minuted and documented in the Board of Guardian minutes. And it didn't come into being until the late 1860s. So it has nothing to do with the famine whatsoever, because the famine, the doors opened in March 1845 here. So any burials for the famine from the workhouse are out in communal plots in Leck and Cornwall graveyards. And that's what you find, that majority, there is famine plots in old graveyards, and of course they're not marked and things like that. But it's not, don't believe everything you read, and don't believe every sign you see, because you need to do a little more digging, because they are probably much later than you think. And a lot of the graveyards you might see are for unconsecrated burials or unbaptized children as well. You can see as well. So there is, as that program last night said, yeah, people were mainly buried, but unfortunately buried in communal plots as the famine went on. But it's not, don't believe everything you see.
Fair enough. That's why we're checking. No, so that's very good. Eamon, sorry, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, Caroline, this is like mastermind for you, and I'm sorry.
Right, used to this.
John threw a graveyard at you, and is it okay if I throw a couple of Martello towers your direction?
Yes.
I'm very interested in these towers that are all around the coastline of County Donegal, and they're beginning to age a bit like us all. I wondered about a couple of questions. If they're sitting on private people's land, where's the ownership of them? And secondly, is there anything in place to make sure that they are preserved? 2 questions. Typical Ross's man, 2 questions in one.
So so the Martello Towers, there's a number of Martello Towers, and there's lots more signal towers as well dotted around our coastline, and are beautiful buildings. So you're saying about Martello Towers, yes, a number of them are in private ownership, and the ownership, they own that building, it's private ownership, so there is no public access unless they grant it to it. The other things that are they being cared for and things, they're historic buildings. So majority of them would be on land owned by somebody. There are very few in such in public ownership. They're on a plot of land, and usually there's a private owner. So it depends on who's looking after them, and they can apply for grants and things. But there's no one conservation kind of group looking after them in Donegal, as far as I know. But we know, because they're beside the sea, and we know that they've been there in existence for hundreds of years, in some cases, that the damage could do. But you can see some local, where's the one down Malin, is it? The signal tower down Malin has been restored. I think it's not Malin, sorry, down in
Castle.
Down in round Kilcar, down that direction. I just can't think at the minute. We're involved in an international project called the Tide Project, TIDE, and it's looking at the maritime heritage within countries across France and Spain and England, and Donegal is the lead partner. So you can if you have a look at the Tide Project, there's lots of information up. I gave a presentation there recently about which includes Martello Towers and signal towers. But to answer your question about who owns them, if they're in private hands, it's the person there. It's private ownership. They're not in, I can't think of any in public hands, but I'm not sure. I don't know the ownership of sites of all of them. Yes, Valentine.
Okay, thank you.
And just following on from that, dear, just how do you define them? Martello Tower, we have 3 structures on the landscape here just outside Bundoor. We call them follies, but they're presumably different to Martello Towers, are they? Martello Towers?
They would. Martello Towers are built as a defensive structure, and they're quite large, and they're very distinctive. You see them down up at in Shone and across the foil, so they're very distinctive, and but if you're saying follies, yes, there's a large number
of follies, yes.
Yeah, I have to look at the map thing, but if they're known as follies, they're
decorations on the landscape. Yeah.
And follies was it was like keeping up with the Joneses. It was like what was new to get in your big house. Was it an ice house? Was it a folly? Was it a wild garden or rock garden? What was keeping up with the Joneses, building follies?
Yes. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. Okay, if there isn't any other questions, we'll start to wrap up. Caroline, thank you very much. What we'll do from here is we will share a recording of this out with everybody who registered, who can express an interest as part of this, and including yourselves who are with us here today. We'll also share the contact details, and maybe Caroline, you would give us a list of those websites that are clickable, so we're able to share that out. And what we would like to do ideally, I suppose, is in maybe 2 months' time, is put out another call for people to come in. We'll maybe get Caroline to focus in on one of those topics, or 1 or 2 of those topics just in a bit more detail, because I didn't realize there was so many sites out there. It's just fantastic that there's so many resources just as a guide, and maybe get people to come back in with more questions and comments, and start maybe hopefully arranging that I've discovered X, Y, or Z, or here's samples of work that have kind of been sent in to us, or new things that have come up. So that would be really interesting. So Caroline, I'll leave the last word to yourself.
Thanks very much, John. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us today, and I'm really looking forward. I love these kind of projects, and I'm always love to add to my knowledge, because you never know what comes out, and you never know what is there to be uncovered. So I look forward to seeing you in very soon again, and we'll keep up the good work, John.
Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. We shall talk to you all soon. So the
Thank you,
recording will come out in the next couple hours, and you'll get a YouTube link. Just so no, good night. Slime.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, John. And everybody else too. Bye bye.
Bye.